There is an important summit conducted at Anchorage in Alaska between the Russian President Putin and the American President Trump. This meeting, in fact, has been conducted in a military base of USA, and the choice of Alaska is primarily because Alaska doesn't fall under International Criminal Court's jurisdiction, in which there is an arrest warrant issued on Putin, and Putin met with Trump, and there is a lot of camaraderie which has been shown in the summit. And initially there was an anticipation that the summit will lead to a ceasefire agreement and an end to the conflict in Ukraine. But so in fact, setting aside the expectations, Trump seems to be convinced with the idea of Putin that there should be a peace agreement rather than a ceasefire. And one more important thing is this meeting between Trump and Vladimir Putin is a victory for Vladimir Putin, primarily because it will diplomatically mainstream Putin. And apart from that, Putin is able to emphasize on all his objectives very clearly. And along with that, the negotiations with the American side, in fact, he also talked about a arms limitation treaty. Also, he made a proposal with USA. And he also talked very clearly about the Russian considerations and fears in Eastern Europe, particularly in Ukraine. And if we observe the important differences between ceasefire and peace agreement, and why Ukraine and European Union are emphasizing on ceasefire, whereas Putin is emphasizing on a permanent peace agreement. First and foremost, if you look at it, so the ceasefire agreement is usually temporary suspension of the hostilities. That is number one. Number two is it is usually a short-term measure. Number three is it is a first step towards broader negotiations, and it might not address the underlying reasons for the conflict. Whereas a peace agreement by its very nature, it is formally, legally and politically binding. Then it addresses the root causes for the conflict. And along with that, there is also long-term nature of the peace agreement, and it will also legitimize the existing condition in war. That is the nature of the peace agreement. And let's try to understand why Ukraine is demanding for a ceasefire agreement, because in the war between Russia and Ukraine, right now Ukraine is on the back foot. And the ceasefire agreement, it will provide the necessary breathing space for the Ukrainians. Then apart from that, the second important thing is it will also provide an opportunity for Ukraine to gather more support and replenish its arms and support from the international community during the period of the ceasefire agreement. Then, and along with that, it will also avoid any territorial concessions permanently to Russia. That is one of the important objective of Ukraine. But Russia on the other side, it is demanding for a peace agreement, primarily because it will legitimize Russia's territorial gain, primarily because already in Ukraine, multiple provinces have been taken over by the Russians. Then along with that, the second important thing is it will also strategically freeze Russia's position in the Russia-Ukraine conflict currently. And along with that, it will also provide the much needed diplomatic rehabilitation for the Russians. So because of these reasons, Russia is demanding for a more permanent solution because it is on the winning side of the war, and Ukrainians want a temporary solution to the war primarily because they are on the losing side to the war. And very strangely, Trump, after meeting the Putin, he in fact gave a tweet on X saying that Ukraine is a weak power, Russia is a superpower, and definitely Ukraine has to make territorial concessions to Russia. This shows that the Americans are not willing to support a long war in Ukraine, and they want to wind it up as early as possible. E20 fuel has become a point of controversy over the past few weeks. In fact, E20 means ethanol blended 20% into petrol or diesel is the meaning of E20. And this plan is part of the national policy on biofuels, and we are able to achieve E20 fuels 5 years before the anticipated target. But are our vehicles ready for the E20 fuel? This question needs to be addressed. And if you look at it, there are multiple rumors across the society saying that E20 fuels have an adverse impact on the vehicles. And along with that, they will also reduce the mileage of the vehicles. So these are some of the charges against the E20 policy. But at the same time, so the government is of the opinion that E20 has led to significant reduction in the GHG emissions. It has reduced our import burden, and it has caused a collective savings of nearly 1.4 lakh crore rupees between 2014-15 to the current date to the central government of India. Then it is also being claimed that the E20 fuel is ecologically and environmentally friendly, and because its GHG emissions are less, and it is also providing significant money to the farmers producing food grains, particularly sugarcane, corn and rice. Because many of these products are being wasted and they are having very less price, that is the reason why they are diverted for the sake of production of ethanol, then automatically the farmers would get benefited. And one more important aspect with respect to the E20 fuel is the only from 2023 year on, the vehicles which are in manufacturing, they are only having the stamp of E20 compliant vehicles. Then what about the old vehicles produced before 2023? Is the E20 fuel having an adverse impact on these vehicles? It is something which needs to be scientifically ascertained, and even the central government has stated very clearly that there is a reduction in the efficiency of the engine because of the usage of the E20 fuel, but the reduction in efficiency is very minimal. Then we also know that one more important aspect that is there is even Niti Aayog has given a report to the central government saying that if you are using the E20 fuel, then you have to pass on at least a part of the benefit which is being accrued to the central government to the consumers in the form of tax rebates and concessions to the consumers. And if it is not transferred, then what you are doing is you are essentially, this is not correct, primarily because the government is saving nearly 1.4 lakh crores, but the consumers are not getting benefited with the E20 fuel. So there is a need for a clear-cut policy guideline, a clear-cut study with respect to how it is impacting the efficiency of the vehicles. And if it is really impacting, then definitely every consumer who takes petroleum or oil, they should be given a concession. The National Democratic Alliance government at center, in fact, has recommended C.P. Radhakrishnan to be the next Vice President of India. And attempts are being made in order to elect him unanimous. And most of the alliance partners of India are also accepting C.P. Radhakrishnan. In fact, C.P. Radhakrishnan, he originally belongs to Tamil Nadu region. And along with that, he was a member of parliament for the Coimbatore parliamentary constituency in the years 1998 and 1994. Then over and above this C.P. Radhakrishnan, he is a member of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, and he was also president of BJP's Tamil Nadu cell. So because of all his credentials, he has been elevated to numerous nominated positions in the BJP government from 2014 on, and currently he is working as the governor of Maharashtra. Earlier, before that, he was working as the governor of Jharkhand, and along with that, he had an additional charge to be the governor of Telangana, and he also worked as lieutenant governor of Puducherry at one point of time. And looking at his credentials, definitely being in the position of governor for such a long period of time without any controversies on his name makes him an eligible candidate to be the vice president. And many observers are commenting that his elevation to the position of vice presidentship is primarily because the BJP is eyeing the Tamil Nadu elections. Then over and above this, he is also a hard party liner. That is, he is in complete alignment with the BJP's ideology, which will help the central government to keep better control over the Rajya Sabha. As we know that the vice president is none other than he is the chairman of Rajya Sabha, and the untimely resignation of Jagdeep Dhankar and his replacement with C.P. Radhakrishnan from Tamil Nadu, it definitely is a very commendable step, as he also was involved earlier in a Rath Yatra in Tamil Nadu for the sake of interlinking of rivers, for abolition of untouchability, and he has also conducted a campaign against terrorism. A person of such credentials, along with being a fitness enthusiast, he might be a good candidate to be the Vice President of India. Yesterday, Election Commission of India and its Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar has responded to the allegations made by the leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi about vote chori. In fact, the response of the Election Commission is very clear. It demanded that Rahul Gandhi submit an affidavit about the election malpractices, and he has to provide some evidence to the Election Commission. Otherwise, these allegations will become baseless allegations. And the Chief Election Commissioner also made it very clear that they will not be able to publish machine-readable voter list or provide the CCTV footage of the voting process to the people, primarily because it will compromise on the privacy of the individuals. In fact, the CEC's rationale seems to be very extraordinary and out of the world. Primarily because he said that how can we reveal the faces of our mothers, sisters and wives by giving the CCTV footage to any person. But this logic seems to be very unapplicable to the given scenario, primarily because the demand is for CCTV footage of the election process. It is not something which is related to the privacy. It is something which is related to the public trust, and the Election Commission definitely is duty bound in order to reveal the data. Then over and above this, so the Election Commission also stated that the allegations on the Karnataka Assembly segment of Mahadevpura, so it dismissed away the allegations saying that they are baseless, and within a week if Rahul Gandhi fails to submit an affidavit, then automatically, so it is that he is making baseless allegations. It will be proved to the public is a statement of Chief Election Commissioner. And along with that, the Chief Election Commissioner also stated that the legal recourse for any election fraud is usually a 45-day petition to be filed in the High Court, and after the exhaustion of the 45 days, now putting an allegation about vote chori, it is a disrespect to the Constitution, is the statement of Chief Election Commissioner. But most probably, this ECIA should have taken the matter suo motu. It is not just about the criticism of a leader of opposition. So whenever such allegations come into picture, the Election Commission as a constitutional independent authority is duty bound to prove that it is not involved in any, or there was no election malpractice which has been conducted. Rather than asking for affidavit, it is time to be more transparent. Thank you.